Hands are very important. Some people throw them, some people put them on other people. I, on the other hand, use them to bring my tits and my back into the bench press. Hi, I'm Patrick. I bench more than you. So listen up, Buttercup. I'm going to teach you how to use your hands to incorporate your pecs and your back into the bench a little bit better. When performing a lot of the compound movements like the squat, bench, and deadlift, a lot of the cues get really simplified into just grip and rip. And the bench press doesn't really have a lot of conversation regarding the hands, other than the hand whip and how that affects which muscles you incorporate into the lift. But benching is a little more complex than just grabbing the bar, having it come and touch your chest, and then pressing it back up. If you do that, and you just have a little bit of a flaccid hand going on, there's a lot of things that are going to get missed out when you're performing the bench press. It's a known fact that the lats are a very strong stabilizer when it comes to any sort of lift, whether it's the squat, bench, deadlift, any of your accessories. You need to incorporate your lats in order to have a good, stable base when performing any of these lifts. And because I already said it, bench is no exception. And that's the topic of today. How are we going to incorporate the pecs and the lats into the bench a little more? And it's going to be a little bit easier than you think. There's two hand cues that I personally incorporate to my own bench press and has elevated the stabilization and power in my bench because it's brought in both the pectoral muscles, the pecs, the titties, the big chest, as well as the lats. And I have a pretty strong lats because lats are my favorite muscle group to train because I like turtles, and building a turtle shell is just one of my passions. One of the biggest memes in powerlifting programming these days is having sets of 100 band pull-aparts because it's just lazy programming. But what it does is it makes you activate your chest and also activates your back a little bit too. So when you pull apart, you're activating your pec muscles and you're kind of flexing your lats. But if you just stand still without that bullshit and you try to flex your pecs and you try to flex your back, notice what happens in your shoulders and your hands. You have the band pull apart, so you're pulling apart, and you're kind of packing your lats in. And then flexing your pecs kind of turns your hands out. And those are kind of the steps that we're going to take towards activating the pecs and the lats when we're doing the bench. Some people think it's a little strange to use chalk when performing the bench press because you don't need to grip the bar. But these cues that I'm going to be talking about, they will benefit from having chalk on your hands because if you do them aggressive enough, your hands can slip on the bar. It'll be very painful, but there's a little bit of slippage that goes on, and having a little bit of extra friction and tactile strength in your hands from chalk is going to help you benefit from these cues a little bit better. So what these two cues are bend the bar and spread the bar. So when you take your grip, you want to bend the bar, but that really doesn't really make sense. That's just a cue that a lot of people regurgitate all the time. What I like to think about is an emphasis on your thumb and your pinky, because if you emphasize that, it twists your hands. That bends the bar in the correct manner that you want to be doing. So you want to bend the bar. Notice how it's activating. You can see my elbows kind of flexing as I do this. The second cue I want to talk about is stretch the bar. So we were stretching with bands. We want to stretch the bar and activate like that. That's why we need the chalk on our hands. So we put them together. We stretch the bar. Notice how there's that pec flex going on, and we bend the bar. And you see how that's activating the lats. So you put them together, and you got a nice rigid upper body that are going into the bench press. Now let's get laid down and kind of show what it looks like. I thought about putting some just of my regular training because I use this every single time that I bench in this video, but I'll do it live for you here. So let's get a good setup. Let's set our arch and tuck our lats under ourselves because we're going to treat this like we're actually benching a maximal effort weight. All right. So you take the bar, you bend the bar. Notice how that's kind of flexing my triceps and biceps and kind of turning my elbows in. You spread the bar. Notice how it's making my lats activated, more stable. And you hold that through. So if I don't do that, notice what happens to my elbows. They're flaring a little early. So if we don't do this, our elbows flare a little early and we've got a little bit of flaccid going on in our wrists. But when we spread the bar and bend the bar, our elbows don't flare as early. We get a healthier bench stroke going on there. Now, it might be a little difficult to incorporate both of these cues at the same time when you're first getting started because you're doing two things at the same time. And a lot of people can't walk and chew bubblegum at the same time because breathing already takes up most of their energy. So here's a accessory movement, for lack of a better term, that'll help you with the spreading the bar cue. So what you want is a mini band, one of these small bands. And you want to put it around your wrists. So when you put your hands out to your bench position, it's going to be pulling you in and you have to fight against it to pull it out. This is going to naturally make you want to fight against the band, and it's going to make it easier for you to focus on keeping that bend in the bar, focusing on your thumb and your pinky bending the bar. And yeah, you've got a little bit of a spring because this isn't perfect, because there's going to be no perfect way to train this. And then, just so that you have that muscle memory going, you take the band, you throw it away, you reset back up, and you feel that natural tendency to be in that natural range of motion, that natural cueing going on, getting the flexion in both your pecs and your lats. That's how you keep consistent practice and kind of build up the muscle memory of spreading the bar. And you're going to want chalk on your hands when you're doing that, because the better you get at it, the more likely that your hands are going to slip a little on the bar, just because you're just being so aggressive, and it's not a bad thing. Now, let's say you want to practice the bending the bar cue. It's going to be very hard for you to visualize if you video yourself like a good little boy or girl on what's going on, because a steel bar, metal bar, iron bar, whatever these are made out of, is not really going to show the bend as much as something like a PVC pipe. So what you want to do is you want to practice that bending, because this will give you a little bit more feedback. So you set up on the bench as if you're actually going to bench, and you bend the bar and maintain that bend throughout. So if I don't bend it, it looks like this. And if I do bend it, watch the bend in the bar. You can feel that lat packing underneath. It's going to be a little wonky because you don't have weight fighting back against you. So it's going to be a little jerky coming down and jerky coming up, and that's completely fine. So we talked about a lot today. One of the most neglected muscle group, or two of the most neglected muscle groups when it comes to bench press and incorporating the correct motor patterns, is the pecs and the back. And it's not straightforward as to how to do it, but once you start practicing the movements that we talked about today, the cues where you're spreading the bar and bending the bar, focusing on your thumb and pinky, kind of emphasizing that twist in your hand while you're holding onto the bar, making sure you have a rigid wrist, because no one likes things when it's flaccid. Having those cues is going to incorporate and have your muscles activated while performing the bench press a little bit better. So you're going to be stronger off of the chest. You're going to be better controlled on the descent, and you're going to be overall a better bench presser if you incorporate these, because without it, you'll lack stability and power. So I hope this all made sense to you. Comment below if you have any questions, any more suggestions for videos like this. This was a video suggestion from a viewer, and let me know what you guys thought. As always, this has been Patrick, and see you guys in the next one.